Welcome to Isaiah Shift Part 3, Black Holes. I'd like to dedicate this to my friend Matt, who I enlisted to help me with critique the project, and he said there's a black hole in the center of the universe. So I had to do some studying on that. I'm not an astronomy guy, and I'd like to read 3 paragraphs that I found that I assume sums up what everybody thinks about the galactic center. Okay, so here we go. This essay is obligated to give much deserved attention to the extremely powerful emanations of energy released from the galactic center of the Milky Way, which pass through our solar system from time to time. The Cosmic Convergence Research Group has placed much emphasis on the sun regarding the true reasons of most of the recent Earth changes. However, in addition to the ongoing and extraordinary solar transformations causing these awesome changes, there are other quite prodigious influences which can be traced to the galactic center. In fact, there lies the galactic center, a supermassive black hole which periodically releases tremendous amounts of energy that eventually permeate the entire galaxy. The primary forms of these energy releases are as follows. 1. A cosmic jet which is ejected directly from the black hole perpendicular to the galactic plane, and 2. A spreading wave of pulse of energy which moves along the galactic plane throughout the entire galaxy to its edges and beyond. Because the sun has been approaching the galactic plane and therefore aligning with the galactic center for several years, December 21st, 2012 has been proposed by some as the exact day of alignment. It has been receiving a mediating many of the energies flowing from the galactic core as they wash over the entire solar system. Hence, we see the acceleration of global climate change, increasing number and intensification of seismic and volcanic events, major oceanic current changes, vast methane releases at the poles and throughout the seven seas, among many other examples of profound planetary change. A deeper penetration of this matter will reveal that it is ultimately the great central sun of the universe which triggers the cyclical energy outflows from the black hole center of the Milky Way. Since every galaxy possesses a supermassive black hole at its core, the same dynamic is operative throughout the whole of creation. The key point is that both the expansion period and subsequent contraction of the universe are directed by a primordial force at the very heart of the cosmos itself. The manifestations of this force, of course, whether creative and order-producing in nature or destructive and chaotic, always reflect those which are appropriate to the age. Hence, we are now experiencing solar activity marked by great volatility, which quite accurately reflects the current tempestuous human activity throughout every sphere of life on tumultuous planet Earth. Okay, there's a lot of good in that article, but I have to agree on the foundation. And let's read the caption. The galactic center of the Milky Way is defined by a supermassive black hole. Okay? So they're telling us that there's a black hole right there in the center of that galaxy that once in a while it spits stuff out. And that we're being sucked toward the center. That's wrong. It's backwards. That's backwards. Okay, let's take a look at this. We'll have to expand on this when we talk about how it works. There's 2 black holes, one on the top and one on the bottom. And what we're seeing there is they collided something against each other in the middle there that was so powerful that it wasn't contained by the gravitational force, and it went back out both ends. But black hole from this side, black hole from that side. I don't know if we return or no, everything's going this way and then back in, that way, back in, or maybe as we go through we go that way and come out this way. We get recycled in the middle. But the black hole is not sucking everything into the middle, it's pushing everything out. It's sucking everything from the poles into that middle. So a lot of the stuff I agree with in this article, but I disagree that the black hole that they're talking about is in the center. We're not being sucked in. We got crashed. Okay, so now let's get a bigger graph of this one again. I like this picture of the solar system better because it shows that energy in the center. We're not flowing into it, we're drifting out. Okay, here's our blow up of that. So back, this is from the first Isaiah shift video, and I had it right. There's two different gravities. There's two different, but these are black holes. I just didn't scale it up to show the whole thing. But tremendous violence in the middle. So how did the Earth form? The Earth, I'm guessing, was when something big got slammed in on the top side against something big got slammed in from the black hole on the bottom side, and they got slammed in the middle. The Earth was probably a droplet of molten material. Molten. We started as a molten core. We've cooled off as we went out and cooled down since we've got away from the center. We couldn't have started out here on the edges where there's no energy as a molten core. It's impossible. You have to start where the energy is, in the center of the galaxy. Two black holes slamming us together. We're a molten core. We're gathering stuff as we go, little stuff. Maybe that's why there was that gold in South Africa, because maybe a particular meteor that was rich in gold slammed into the Earth and kind of melted, kind of stayed solid. Did that. Cycles back and forth. And every 6,000 years, because the way cycles work, being an engineer, the amplitude, as a cycle dampens, the amplitude gets shorter, but the frequency does not. And I think I provided some pretty good evidence in Isaiah Shift Part 2 and B2 evidence in Part 2B, the flood, on how that works. So, we got slammed in. We're just a droplet that's kind of floating out there. Eventually, we wind up with, we're orbiting the sun. Somehow we gather a moon that doesn't have molten core. Well, that makes sense because it's a lot smaller. It cooled all the way to the core, or we gathered it somewhere. But either way, we started as a molten planet. And as we went through all these Isaiah shifts, it formed that ridge. We had continental drift theory. I'd say continental drift theory happened about 200 galactic years ago. So we'll get to that math later. So we have an atmosphere. We have water vapor, but it can't condense on the rock and form seas until it cools enough. Okay? So we started out, we gathered whatever we gathered in the center where the Earth was created, and then we've drifted out now to about here was probably where, if we're here now, here is probably about where the Earth's crust cooled enough to condense water on the crust. So let's go back to the Grand Canyon. And talk about that again. Okay, the Grand Canyon. Finally, you got your metamorphic down here, your granite and your schist. Okay, and it's shifting, but it's formed as the Earth cooled as a molten glob, and every time it went through the Isaiah shift, it got serious earthquakes and formed those mountains, pushed up. Maybe as it cooled, it wasn't regular. That's when continental shift may have happened and broke out. I'm not a believer in that theory. And then after the water cooled and we saw storms and the floods 80,000 galactic years ago, that's when the water condensed enough to start leaving sediment, and left sediment every 6,000 something years until 30,000 galactic years ago, and that's when the galactic annual flood backs up against the Rocky Mountains and cuts that channel a little deeper. And that'd be a good question for my civil engineer friends. Map out that dam that the Rocky Mountains create and the other mountain chains from the North Pole to the South Pole. And if there was no hole, it would be 5,000 feet above sea level. So do a V-notch water test and tell us how high it's going to get this time. I'm guessing it's still going to get pretty close. And I don't think it's that far away. So, my friend Ben said I needed to put my face in front of the camera and introduce myself. So, I'm Bill. My initials are Worm. And I thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. Thanks.